Earlier we were Blink Big, and now we're the Carnival Worldwide. Sometimes technology is amazing. Other times I really don't care. But thank you for tuning in. Tonight I want to just chat about, the topic of roadworthy. Given last night's discussion and some people sending me messages and inquiring and some saying, it's they don't agree with it, and you're all entitled to that. No one's saying you aren't. As long as your point adds value somehow. And it's not just naar. That's all I'm interested in. So I figured let me get into this a bit because I've always heard over the years the issues people have and the problems they're dealing with. And I can't say that I've actually ever dealt with some of the extreme ones that you guys have been through. So it begs the question. I mean, is it all true? Firstly, sometimes it's obvious. A disc was taken, but the story might be skewed. There was a video I saw of someone, and they insisted on arguing with the officers. To what end? You're gonna get into crap for that. Then you get others that will say something and say how an incident went, but it went completely opposite, and they were compliant and somewhat reserved, and maybe that was sort of capitalized on by the cops, if you will. So I just want to try and have a general discussion around this. A lot of people I see in the groups on social media and wherever, it's always looking for a connection, a shortcut, something to try and avoid doing the roadworthy the right way. And at the end of the day, you gotta ask these questions when you see all these accidents and you see a car on its roof and you look at the photos. The first thing I go and look for is the tires. And I go and look at the tires, and the tires are slick. And then I'm like, well, wet road, slick tires, what do you expect? And then people will get upset and emotional because, it was a friend. And, well, the fact is your friend was on slick tires on a wet road. That's the fact. Whether it's your friend or not, the person was driving a car with slick tires on a wet road. Fancy SUVs, fancy, powerful, 2 million rand vehicles, slick tires on canvas. There's so much context that we need to go through. Is it a roadworthy item? Well, in that case, that's a roadworthy matter. Was the person driving appropriately? That always gets skewed. I don't claim to be an angel. I'll tell you, I've mentioned in my lives. I drove crap on that instance. I've been in situations where I've driven crap, and I've paid the price for it. Not severely so, but a dinged mirror cover. Great, I can go buy a replacement cover. The other damage that I can't see, I don't know, but the mirror's functioning fine for now. It could fall off in the next 2 years. I don't know. None of those things I can answer. But there are obvious things that people just tend to shy away from, overlook, ignore, find a connection for, get a stay away, set up going. At the end of the day, you've got to think logically. A lot of people will make the statement, when you become a dad and things change, but then you still do the same cuck. That's all I got from the comments and the DMs and the message. I was like, but you're still not looking at the fact. The fact is, you're still catching on cuck. Your wife is driving the car now. You're driving the car with your son or your daughter or a baby, and your car's unroadworthy. All I'm trying to say is that is the reality, especially in Cape Town. You buy a car, it's 10 to 1, license is behind a year, 2 or 3. The roadworthiness is probably worse. You don't know. It's possibilities it could be the most well-maintained vehicle that just they've got an issue with city, or they couldn't afford to, get the license renewal. But like I was telling someone last night, people can't afford, but they can't afford, but they can afford liquor at the end of the week. But they can't afford this and they can't afford that. So I mean, it's a clear-cut discussion, but there's some obvious thing to consider. The fact that it's wrong. Bottom line, it's wrong. I mean, like I said in another podcast, I've only ever bought cars new. It gets transferred to my name, sorted. Then I started buying second-hand cars, but I bought it at dealerships. Came with Roadworthy, sorted. Gets transferred from the bank to me, sorted. I buy a car cash from a dealer, comes to the Roadworthy, go in the Roadworthy the car, or go and get my license, sorted. And when I said in the previous podcast, in the one instance where we had to transfer a car, it might have been last night, from a business to our name, I failed that Roadworthy, hands down, but for stupid things. The car was generally well maintained, but for stupid things, the undercarriage was dirty. It looked like there was an oil leak somewhere, so please clean it and we'll see if the leak develops or whatever the case may be. It was just poor maintenance from the dealer. That's where I took it to maintain. So my responsibility is yours. Because who do I blame if something goes wrong? I can't blame myself. I'm just going to give myself a slap on the wrist. But it failed that. And as I said, I did the minor thing, came back and they passed it. I didn't pay twice, paid once. And all of my vehicles are safe. Some of them don't look it. But the things that cops would look for, in my opinion, are the visible things, the tires. Height, I assume. Sometimes they don't even bother looking under the car to check if it's leaking. They don't even look at the car at all. They just take a look at you and your license. And if that's all fine, then you sort it. If it's not, then queries will be asked. If you have an attitude, you automatically have a problem. Now, whether they are right or wrong, firstly, are you in the right? I haven't been in that situation where I've been in the wrong and tackled an officer and argued with him about a point that made no sense. But other than that, I've been compliant and obliged with whatever request they had. So, I mean, you get your disc pulled because of some silly reason, and how many of you actually go to a proper roadworthy station and roadworthy your vehicle and check it? I'm keen to know. From all the things I see going on with stay away, roadworthy, and connection, and all this, and it ties back into things that I said on previous podcasts where actions have consequences, man. And it's probably those same people that will be the first ones to say, when you become a parent and you start a family, then you must change your way of thinking and your ways. But then they don't themselves. It's always a connection. I don't operate with connections. I will rather pay my way, because then there is no comebacks, there's no expectations on the other party for me to return that favor. For what? We're dealing above the board, it's all business. That's how I prefer to do things. I don't know how most of you guys who are going to listen to this prefer. But, yeah, I mean, what's the purpose of the roadworthy? If I can just spitball in my mind, just to have a record showing that the vehicle is worthy of getting the license, because it's a privilege to be on the road, car and driver. It's not our right. I mean, we sometimes overlook that. And I'm by no means trying to get on anyone's case. I'm going to get one or two idiots, absolute idiots, that's going to take this out of context and go, look at him, he's siding with the cops. I'm siding with no one. I'm saying I don't get into shit because my nose is clean. But all of you getting into shit, what's the full story? Because people have to give half stories where they don't look slick, but they are most likely slick. That's the fact. So, I mean, I would be keen to see all of these instances. I mean, if you look at just two examples, you know, I bought a car from someone in the north. The car had papers to say it was sold by the original builder, if you will, that did the swap to another individual. From him, it was sold on to another individual. Then it was sold on to who I bought it from, with still the original papers to say, I bought this vehicle from X and there's my receipt, or whatever the case may be. But that person never put it on their name. It's pending, or it was something, a complete mess. And according to the system, it means they can never apply for a license disc for a car. So it's just building and building and building on their name, not on my name. If I want to go and put the car in my name, I'm going to have to foot the bill. Why the hell must I foot the bill? You know? If that person was dumb enough to not even bother to go and put it on their name and then take it off their name, they've incurred what, probably like 5, 6, 7,000 rand. Now, I mean, it's in this grey space where it's no one's car, but I'm sitting with it and I've got the papers for it. So, by that very rule, it's mine. If I choose to drive it on the road in the state, that's my choice. If I get pulled over, it might get impounded. That's my problem. But I want to understand from this guy's point of view, man. What went through your mind to just leave it? And how are you making it through the days now? Is there a car on your parents' name, a car on your partner's name, a car on your lady's name? Did you smuggle a car in your name? Did this not come up? All of those things I would love to know. Quite frankly, I don't have the time to worry with that now, but that might just be something I can delve into and see what's clapping. And then you've got another car that I bought, and the license was behind a good couple of years, and the price included paying it up. And I was like, great, let's pay it up. I know it's on that person's name. I can get them to just go and pay it every year and go through this exercise that people go through that I'm unfamiliar with. Because, I mean, for me, it's license must be renewed. We renew it. The car must go for roadworthy. Oh, let's take it for roadworthy. Get the certificate. If it fails, what must be done? If nothing can be done, scrap the thing. Just move on. Now, I understand the situation and the circumstances could be complex. I don't dispute that. But I've drummed up a few in my mind that is what I need to discuss with people like JP Smith in the city of Cape Town, because there are other people that are genuinely in a bad space. So they can't go and renew or get their license or take it for a roadworthy. All those costs are not a priority. And that can then be split into two groups. Ones that are genuinely suffering and ones that their priority is liquor or other vices. And this is the argument that, oh, they can't, they don't have the money, but tomorrow your status is full up in Spur. You know, lazy age stakes, but you can't afford this, you can't afford that. Or in the case of some of the people that I've dealt with, they can't afford to give my money back for the broken parts they sold me. Maar hulle spur lekker. And then the next instant you'll see the suffering, and that time myself, suffer you bastard. Suffer. Want ek wag nog vir my 500 rand, and it's not about the money, it's about the principle. I'll take it 500 rand and give it to a food kitchen, but it's about the principle. The priorities are wrong. And it applies to everything, including roadworthy. Why must I roadworthy this way? I'm going to go this way with a connection. I know someone here. Yo, if you only knew the kind of crap you could get into. But we'll be the first ones, or those individuals, to say, yeah, you know, the system's corrupt. These people are corrupt. It may very well be corrupt, but systems Can't be. People, yes. Structures, no. People can be corrupt. Systems and structures cannot be corrupt. If they were corrupt, nothing would work. You are just abusing, in the case of someone dealing with a connection, you are abusing a system. The system clearly works, but you're not following the correct process, procedure, the policy. And it's unfortunately my people, my local Cape Townian individuals. It's embarrassing at times. And I know this is going to offend someone. Again, not couldn't care less if it offends. Fact is fact, truth is truth. I can't keep repeating that. But I just love to see you do the right thing, man. And there's so many guys that I can respect because, they beaten on, they trodden on. But when I engage with them, it's like, hey, I'm going to do it this way. Max respect to you, bro. Keep your nose clean. If it is required, if you can see, you know what, I'm going to be reaching that milestone, I need to do it anyway. I've been in the wrong. Maybe, it could have been overlooked. Possibly not. But if you accept it, you're going to do it the right way. You've now saved yourself the time from that moment forward. How much time have you wasted doing it the other ways? Where you should have just done it the right way the first time. That makes such sense that I can't understand people don't do that. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't make mistakes. I may do the wrong thing, but I don't make mistakes by doing the wrong thing again and again and over and over. And I can't understand why people don't want to go to Roadworthy, because then it either means you know there's a problem with your car, or you're fearful of what will happen. I mean, what are you thinking? The people are going to arrest you if your car fails Roadworthy. They're going to impound your car. They're going to take you that you can't leave. That's not what Roadworthy is about. Your car failed, there you go. Please sort it out, bring it back. Until then, that's a risk that you have to take. Or if you don't want to take it there, then do it the right way, because you know your car is going to fail. But it could pass in other ways. So you choose to do it the wrong way. And this is where this info session is coming into that I spoke about last night in episode 15. Where we're saying it's open. Come, we'll help you. And thankfully, my partners agreed to cover all of the costs. There's no charge to have this done. I needed to explain that last night, which I didn't, so I'm going to touch on that a bit. There's no charge to bring your vehicle, have us check it out, and say, right, solid, suspension solid, nothing wrong with the components. It is a bit low. Here's an advisory. These are all the issues we found. Go and take corrective measures. It's only to your benefit. Or choose not to. And if the car passes roadworthy as is, if you do decide to take it one day, it passes. You live with the consequences. If your car is currently licensed up to date and you don't even need to bother with roadworthy, that's your thing. But the roadworthy is such a good check to do. If your license is up to date, if you don't need to worry with it, fine. But do the check for your own safety. I mean, like I said, I've seen cars, poor quality cars that's imported into this country through bricks, on its roof with a tree stump through the roof. That clearly wasn't designed very well. But I mean, that tree stump could have penetrated the roof, hit you in the head, and you died of a concussion. You didn't die of the car rolling. You would have been fine if the vehicle was safer. It's NCAP safety rating that we discussed a few nights ago. Now, as you alone, and the car is exceptionally safe for you as the driver, it's bad for your passengers. You've got to ask yourself the question, why? But what relevance does the roof have with the passengers? So I agree, there could be corruption somewhere, but it's people that are corrupt, not systems and structures. If systems and structures are put in place by corrupt individuals, they can be abused. But the system and the structure is working in that state. The corruption is coming from the people. So, yeah. I mean, besides the fact of roadworthy, there's so many factors to do with just your comfort, not even your safety, just comfort driving. Especially the roads of our country where, governments will claim the Western Cape is the best, for instance. They'll claim that. Well, where are they looking? Are they looking in the areas where everyone is driving with, needing gumboots for the potholes? And believe you me, I've driven on some roads where the potholes are the size of a bakkie. I mean, particularly when the N5, yeah, when that was closed off, N3 was closed off by the truckers, by the mountain pass. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to cut across the country this way. N5 to N3. N3 on the R, also I think it's R72 or R76 or something. Just taking that road, there was an accident. A bakkie had rolled and a taxi had rolled. And you're like, what the hell happened here? Further on, you see people slaloming across the road and you're like, what the hell's happening here? And then I saw potholes. Now, I mean, if I'm in a car with cut spring, I would have died. I would have died instantly. So, I mean, I don't understand where people have this issue with roadworthy. We are still very fortunate if you look at the regulations. And I would actually challenge everyone listening to this to just go for a roadworthy if your car is licensed and it's up to date and you don't need one. Do one just for your own peace of mind. I mean, go and ask the places that you go to. Look, my vehicle has never changed ownership. I did the roadworthy then. I've got my license now. I just want to check my vehicle. Is that going to give me any issues? Are you going to fail the vehicle and then I must go and do a roadworthy? If that's not what you want to do. But if you are confident in your maintenance, your mechanic, the work that's being done by the dealership that services your vehicle, and you are interested in your own safety, go and do it. I mean, I do like head tests, pressure tests, compression tests on a regular, so that I know, hey, wait, this vehicle isn't able to hold, the coolant system isn't able to hold pressure. There's a problem somewhere. Have it looked at. I don't want to be in the middle of nowhere and then have a pipe burst, and then what? Car overheats, car's broken. That's happened to me. That has happened to me. I got so gutful, I just sorry for my language. I just left the car in Kleinmond. I had my Land Rover repaired because alternator appeared to be the problem. Battery light came on. Land Rover said alternator is the issue. Okay. I told him I'll drive it to you. And on the way there, systems failed, and how those systems worked and what they depended on, I'd need to go and check. But the vehicle overheated and spewed all of its guts. Coolant, alles. Right? Flatbedded to them. They checked it out, changed the alternator, was done under insurance. Come and fetch your vehicle. Right? We checked your coolant, topped this up, everything's fine. Topped it up. And that's where it went south. So fetch the vehicle, alerted them to an issue. No, just top it up some more and then it should be fine. That's where the problem started. Only for the vehicle to break down in the middle of nowhere between Caledon, Arniston and Hermanus. So I made my way to the coast, to Hermanus. That's a lot easier, a lot cooler. Maybe that will help with overheating. See, everything seemed okay until I came to a stop, right? Vehicle died. I was so bedonderd, I just drove it straight to Kleinmond, parked it there, asked me if I could leave it there, found a way home, collected the vehicle, took it to Land Rover. Now, if I didn't need to do roadworthies, I didn't need to do checks. If I had done that, I would have maybe found an issue. But here I have a dealer telling me everything is sorted. But here clearly everything wasn't sorted. I could have taken it to a roadworthy station and said, just please do a check for me, a roadworthy check or your 40-point check or whatever. I mean, Decra does a huge number of checks, which I took a few years later and they started finding issues related to possible workmanship, related to other things that I wouldn't have known if I didn't check. So that's what I'm trying to say. What is the issue with us not roadworthy in cars? We will rather pay a connection twice the amount of money for something that we either don't know would pass or fail the car, or we are fearful of something because we know we're doing something wrong by bringing a car with cut springs or tempered springs, or like I said last night, tempered, cut, and sleeve overs, a combination of the three. The list for roadworthiness is really not that complex. It's very simple and basic, the things that need to be done. And some people have even said in the industry, when they go in roadworthy vehicles, they still do it the right way. They undo everything roadworthy and they fit everything afterwards. These are people in the industry. Now, is that correct? No. Is it right? Certainly not. Is the system allowing for it? Yes, because of the corruption by the individual. The person doing it is being corrupt. Because now they've got stock springs in, the system will say, well, everything is fine. If they had the lowered spring in, the system would have failed them. But then they would have just gone to a connection and paid to overlook that. So did the system work? Yes. Was it abused? Yes. That's what I'm trying to say, but I still can't understand why people don't go for roadworthy. It's your own safety. Self-preservation. I have a very strong sense of that. I've driven over 1 million kilometers, and I'm still here to tell the tale. I've had tire blowouts at high speed, and I mean high speed, 140, 150, and I'm still here, thankfully. I can't say by skill, I can just say by dumb luck, rather. I've had stones thrown at the windscreen. I've had bricks coming through windows. I've had potholes where tires burst here in the Western Cape. Our beautiful roads. I'm still here to tell the tale. But I would be crazy if I didn't know that my cars were capable of doing the distances and just going and doing the distance. And I mean, if your car isn't roadworthy, you're shooting yourself in the foot because there's so much to explore. So, the ones that are not doing it out of fear, what is the fear? I'll go and find the points and I'll post it here. And there's so much I need to post for this channel. I'll probably do that this weekend or maybe in the week, because I've got a big thing coming up on Monday. And I've got, I think, something up tomorrow. But it's really not that hard to pass a roadworthy, even if your car has a drop kit in it. And if it does fail, then, go back to the person that you bought it from and fit it if it's a retail store. Argue with them. Or if it does fail, then I don't know, you choose. Fit your stock springs and get a pass, and then go fit your lowering kit and be on your way and carry on with life. I don't know. I would go and actually go to look for a fail. Why did the car fail? Did it fail for something silly? Sort that out. Did it fail for something serious? Well, teach me. Show me how I can fix this. Is the only fix to undo it? Then I may or may not choose that, because the way it is now with the drop kit in and whatever the case may be, I may be happy. And this contentious issue with the roadworthiness and cops, some who know and some who don't even know why they're finding you for what they're finding you. They just had a bad day. That's a possibility. Others don't know why they're finding you. They just want to exert their power. That's a possibility. And each of those things and those aspects, and I may have gone through it in one of my earlier lives, are all things that will be dealt with. Or I could just, outright say, guys, I'm running for office. Vote for me in the next 5 years. And then we see how, or as I say, Woody Popper dance. That's another way. Am I interested in politics? I'm getting there. Specifically this year, I'm getting there. Is that maybe the way forward? Yeah. Am I going to compromise on what is right and wrong? No. I'm not saying that street racing, for instance, is right or wrong. It's a recreation. I engaged in it. Others are engaging in it. Things go wrong. Should we all point the fingers at the fact that, you see, that's why, because you're racing on the street? No, because the only difference between the street and the track is public discipline. On Saturday past, a guy crashed. He could have crashed on the street. But on the street, he would have either hit a barrier or gone into an open field, depending on the location, or hit another person or car. The only difference between the two is public discipline. Would I be a lot more transparent in office? Oh, hell yes. I've heard the arguments from officers, from JP Smith and from other people, we can't, divulge that. And I can see the logic to some degree. You don't want to compromise an operation. You don't want to compromise a process or a system. Fair. But your communication is bad. So are people doing what they're doing because they don't know better, or because they aren't being told what is available to them? Our government is good at sort of having blinkers on and then telling us to put our blinkers on, and then, as we say, they catch on all these things. But again, it comes back to the simple point. People can be corrupt. Systems and structures cannot be corrupted. They can be used by corrupt people and manipulated by corrupt people. But if we are using and doing it, then we are no better than the people we complain about. Years ago when I was told, I've got a connection. I've got that knows the previous mayor. I've got a person that knows JP's driver. And what does that mean to me? Because tomorrow that person is going to want a favor, and then everything falls flat on its face anyway. No, I'll follow the process, and I'll tackle the process and say, well, I don't agree with this. Give me a valid reason why. Last night as a presentation, I demolished the entire project. 50 million rand project. And I said, well, where's this adding value to the community? It's not. We can spend that 50 million elsewhere. It's benefiting an affluent community because they don't have to deal with a problem which now becomes the poorer community's problem. But we're going to spend 50 million to do that. Why don't we just spend 50 million on exchanging, or rather changing mindsets? So do we have political issues? Yes. Is that driving roadworthy problems? Possibly. The guys that I spoke to at last week's Western Cape Government and City of Cape Town First Thursdays in Grassy Park, unwittingly or unknowingly, maybe they didn't know what to say, or I made them nervous, but they said, with the street racing, yeah, we hear your points about having racing on the street, but the problem is people complain, and we are mandated to help and sort that out. So they are responding to complaints. So now I'm saying, if there were no complaints, would they be responding? Obviously. So let's not tackle the government, let's tackle the people that's complaining. Why are you complaining? I've done exactly that with a community in Ottery. No, this drag racing and these guys are hooligans. And when I speak to the community leader and explain to him why we're doing what we're doing, he's all for it. And he will now go and spread it amongst the community that this is a good thing and this is the reason why. And now we can understand what the noise is about. And if we hear it, exercise your rights, report it. And it may come to the point where eventually they might say, we will send out a van. We must likely assume it's this because that is communicated as on the schedule, or whatever the case may be. And again, something like this comes down to communication. We're not doing roadworthies because the communication is poor. We don't know, we don't register that these are the things they check for. Do your lights work? Do your taillights work? Do your wipers work? Do your indicators work? Do your hazards work? Does the car, if you drive the car, you drive it on the rolling road, does the brakes work? Does your handbrake work? You know, all these things are simple things. Is your car leaking? Well, that's a problem, and it's a problem on a few levels, because it's an environmental issue, which has become the most recent thing that everyone latches onto. Environmental matters. It's going to possibly cause an issue for the next person on a motorbike. You dropping oil, you driving along, here comes a motorbike, hits the oil, crashes, everyone goes, what happened? Oh, we don't know. It was an accident. If we can start to change our mindsets and just follow the correct processes, policies, and procedures, I'm very sure most of our lives will be a lot less complicated, a lot simpler. I know mine is. I don't know how many times I have to keep repeating that. But yeah, I mean, it is Friday. I may just go to a street race. But I accept the consequences of that. But I'm going with a roadworthy vehicle. You know? So yeah. Have a good evening, guys. Enjoy it. Be safe. It's beautiful race weather. You know? Don't do as I do or say, because it may or may not just get you into trouble. But listen, digest, form your own opinion, make your own choices. Try and make the best ones. Try and make the correct ones. And I will see you guys next week. Cheers. Have a good weekend.